Mark A. Lloyd was convicted of murdering a police officer in Orlando, Florida.
But something I have absolutely don't know nothing about. And they framed me.
He was already on the run after killing his pregnant ex-girlfriend. A month later, Lloyd was spotted in a Walmart. Orlando Police Lieutenant Deborah Clay entered the store shortly after, and the two reportedly crossed paths. When Lieutenant Clay attempted to arrest Lloyd, a shootout ensued, and she was fatally shot 4 times. Following the murder, Lloyd fled, leading to a 9-day manhunt.
I was just reacting, Mary. I was just reacting. Even when they opened the door, I just reacted. I fired 2 shots, I just reacted.
The jury then found him guilty.
It really hurts deep down inside.
He was eventually found, and during his arrest, he attempted to escape.
She stood in the place as my mother when I didn't have one. I truly miss my sister. I truly miss her.
Losing his left eye in the altercation. In court, Lloyd testified that he believed everyone was trying to kill him, stating, "I was just reacting. I just reacted."
Should be sentenced to death.
You've been trying to kill me. You've been trying to frame me for murder.
All right, why don't we remove Mr. Lloyd?
The jury
from
found
the
him
courtroom?
guilty. Later, the jury unanimously recommended the death sentence, which the judge confirmed. Lloyd now sits behind bars awaiting execution. Martez Abram was convicted of 2 counts of murder for the killings of 2 Walmart employees in South Haven, Mississippi. Abram had previously worked at the Walmart, but was suspended after being found with a knife in the store. On the day he was suspended, he returned to the store armed with multiple weapons and opened fire.
He was laying on the ground with his eyes open, and I ran up to him and I looked at him. I said, "Anthony, honey, please say KC one more time."
Killing store managers Anthony Brown and Brandon Gales.
Got out of my vehicle, I heard gunshots, and I felt the pressure of the bullet hit my back.
A witness recalled running up to Anthony, who was lying on the ground with his eyes open.
Look at it, please, sir.
Yes.
Mr. Gale is on the floor going down at this point, isn't he?
Yes.
Okay, and that's you shooting him, right?
Yes.
Look at the screen, sir.
Yes.
That's you shooting him?
Yes.
And you admit that you shot him in cold blood?
Yes.
You shot him again, didn't you?
Yes.
After that, you went back to the toilet paper aisle, didn't you?
Yes.
This is one of the victim's wife delivering a victim impact statement.
You took Anthony from me on the exact day, 20 years earlier, that we had our first date.
In count 1, I will sentence you to death. Count 2, you will be sentenced to death. In count 3, you will be sentenced to life in the penitentiary.
As Abram heard his fate, he stood silently, now awaiting execution on death row. Nico Jenkins was convicted of 4 counts of first-degree murder after going on a deadly killing spree over the course of 10 days in Omaha, Nebraska. At the age of 15, Jenkins was sent to a youth correctional facility and later served a 10-year prison sentence for carjacking and assault. However, just 1 month after his release, Jenkins shot and killed 2 individuals during a robbery. 8 days later, his next victim was a former inmate he had met in prison, who was shot and killed in his own garage. 2 days after that, Jenkins committed his 4th murder during another carjacking. Jenkins was initially arrested on unrelated charges, but investigators were able to connect him to the murders after matching the ammunition used in one of the killings to him. During police questioning, authorities presented Jenkins with evidence, including his DNA found at the crime scene and in a vehicle, along with the murder weapon. Faced with overwhelming evidence, Jenkins pleaded no contest to all 4 counts of first-degree murder and waived his right to a jury trial, leaving the decision of his guilt to a 3-judge panel. The panel determined that each murder was deliberate, premeditated, and purposeful, with Jenkins selecting his victims in advance. After being found guilty on all charges, Jenkins remained expressionless as the judges delivered his sentence. The panel unanimously sentenced Jenkins to death for each of the 4 murders. He is currently on death row at the Nebraska State Penitentiary, awaiting execution. Austin Myers and Timothy Mosley were both convicted for the murder of 18-year-old Justin back in Waynesville, Ohio. The 2 men planned to rob a safe belonging to Justin's father and went to his house to carry out the crime. During the robbery, they decided to strangle Justin with a choke wire, believing it would be a clean and manageable way to kill him. However, Justin fought back, trying to defend himself against the attack. Ultimately, Justin was stabbed 21 times until he died. Witnesses later revealed that Justin was begging for his life, asking why they were doing this and pleading for them to stop. During the trial, Timothy Mosley testified against Austin Myers in exchange for a plea deal. By pleading guilty, Mosley avoided the death penalty and was sentenced to life in prison. Myers, on the other hand, took the stand during his sentencing, pleading with the jury to spare his life. He argued that executing him would only bring more pain and suffering to his family, not to himself.
That is without question. I would just hope that every time you close your eyes at night, you see my son, Justin.
After the jury recommended the death sentence, this is Myers' last chance to plead for his life in front of the judge.
I think there's a lot of good things I can do with my life if you allow me to keep my life.
And the judge doesn't buy it. He hands down the maximum sentence.
The defendant does not understand how precious life is. Therefore, the sentence of death shall be imposed upon Austin Gregory Myers on the charge of aggravated murder.
Myers stated that his death would not harm him directly, but would deeply impact innocent people who cared about him. Michael Brady was involved in a brutal prison escape attempt that led to the deaths of 4 prison workers at the Pasquotank Correctional Institution in North Carolina. During the violent attack, Brady stabbed one of the victims multiple times, estimated between 4 to 8 times. He also repeatedly struck Jeffrey Howe with a hammer until he stopped moving. At the time, Brady was serving a 24-year sentence for an attempted murder conviction after he shot at a North Carolina state trooper. 4 years into his sentence, Brady, along with 3 other inmates, orchestrated and carried out the horrific murders using hammers and scissors. Eyewitnesses described the scene as a bloodbath. One account revealed how Brady viciously attacked George as if trying to break concrete. In the chaos, Brady attempted to escape by climbing a fence, but was captured at gunpoint. The violence was so extreme that the elevator floor was covered in blood, causing witnesses to slip as they tried to intervene. During the trial, prosecutors argued that Brady was the mastermind behind the attack, showing no remorse for the killings. They presented evidence proving he originated and led the deadly plan. After being found guilty, Brady took the stand during his sentencing, claiming he would speak the truth regardless of whether it helped or hurt him. When asked if he understood the difference between right and wrong, Brady acknowledged that he did, admitting that his desire for freedom outweighed the value of the victims' lives. The jury unanimously recommended the death penalty for Brady. The judge later confirmed this sentence, leaving Brady on death row in Colorado, awaiting execution.